Hello and welcome to episode 101 of On My Studio Table. What a week we had last week, and I'm so appreciative of all the people who commented and have entered the giveaway which I've done to celebrate this milestone video. My channel is still very young. I've learned a lot. It's been a steep learning curve, but it's been such a rewarding journey. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will announce the winners at the end of this video, so please stay with me. I have lots of other interesting things to share with you too. First of all, I have become quite addicted to jelly plate printing or jelly printing. I'm using earth paints, and that's what has triggered my start on this really exciting journey of discovery. I didn't want to use acrylics, I mentioned this last time, so I've held off getting into this field of printing. But now I feel like I have permission to do it. So I've been really experimenting, mainly with 2-layer prints, although I have other ideas up my sleeve that I'm going to try as well. I've been using stencils and stamps that I've had for years, which I used to use with acrylic paints and textile dyes, and now I'm using them for this natural way of getting pattern onto cloth and onto paper. Mostly I'm doing paper at the moment. I have spent some time organising my earth paints because they came in sachets, so I've put them in little jars, and I need to get some more because I have some more of the sachets. I've also been experimenting with other media to mix with the earth paints. I have them as pigment powders, so they need to be mixed with something. And I have experimented with one natural alternative, and I have a couple of others that I want to try as well. The other exciting thing is that I reached out to the Natural Earth Paints company because I really like their product and they work so well for jelly printing. I couldn't see where anyone anywhere had done jelly printing with the powdered pigments. So I asked them if they would be interested in my doing tutorials or supporting them in other ways and perhaps working together. And I'm very excited to say that this morning I received an email saying that they loved my jelly prints, they loved the colours that I used, and they must have liked the way I put videos together because otherwise I don't think they would have said yes. They have told me that they will share my tutorials that I make about this process that I'm using and with their paints on their page, on their website, which means 25,000 subscribers will get to see anything that I list in my shop to do with jelly plate printing. The other lovely thing is that they have offered their affiliate program to me, which means that I will get a 10% commission out of any sales that are done because they've come via me or my publicity. So this is wonderful. I'm so thrilled about this. I read the About section so that I knew more about the company and wanted to be sure, of course, that it was an ethical and earth-friendly product. And the story is so interesting, and I will show you a bit more about that later in the video. Apart from the jelly printing excitement, I've also managed to do some stitching, although maybe not as much as usual. I haven't done any more on the blocks that I've been making out of my squares for Words 2026, but I have made the latest square for last week's challenge, which was build. It took me a little while again to think of what to do, but I think I've come up with something that I hope you will like. I've also done more on the Red for Courage scroll, so I'll share that with you also, and that will be an ongoing journey. I won't be sharing about that in every video, but I will certainly bring you regular updates. The other thing that I wanted to let you know was that the art shed is finally getting to the point where we can even start digging a hole in the ground for the foundations. It's been such a rigmarole, unbelievable, but we're getting there. We have one more T to cross and maybe one more I to dot, and we're there. So I'm so excited about that. and I will let you know as soon as we know more about this wonderful project that my husband is coordinating. We have a builder lined up, but my husband will work with him, and it will be just such a wonderful space, not just for me to work, but to share with others, and also to hold some special exhibitions. It won't be open to the public, but it will be open by appointment and by invitation, and there will be events there as well. So that will unfold as we go along. I have so many ideas. The other night I couldn't sleep, partly because of this jelly printing excitement that I'm currently going through, and I think all of the things that are going on at the moment are partly contributing to that. So I spent my time working with my jelly prints. Why not? And then, of course, was very tired the next day, but I've caught up again. I hope you enjoy the video. I'm loving sharing things with you, and I love to read your comments, and thank you so much for joining me today. Just getting back to the natural earth paints, I've had a pretty good look around their website, and the more I look at it, the more impressed I am. They're very open about the whole process, including how it all began, and the products are really, really exciting. If you're an artist, I would really advise you to have a good look at this and just see if this is something you could use. One of the things that Leah says, who is the founder, is that the colours are even brighter and that the work is actually higher quality because you're using a higher quality paint. So I'm really excited about it. This is the last of the 4 lengths that I've been working on over the past 2 weeks or so for the Red for Courage scroll. There are applique pieces here, plus the squares that have been sent. These have been fused down with a paper-backed fusible. I think it's called Visifix, the one that I've used. And I've started to embroider this one, but that's as far as I've got, I think, with the embroidery. So I have a flower to do here, some leaves to do here, and finish the leaves and so on this. And then I'll join it to the rest of the scroll. I'm working on this section separately from the main scroll because I've realised that I really need to have the pieces separate to be able to work on them, such as this one that I've just shown you, and then do the embroidery and then join them together. So this is quite long now. I'll just unroll it as we go along so you can see. But it's just amazing seeing all the work that people have done. I haven't counted the ones on this one, and I've got about 50 left. So there are 200 altogether that are basted to their background, and then several meters, I think. Haven't really measured this, but it's really getting quite long, and I think the embroidery enhances it. I hope so anyway. That's the idea. And I did mention once before that there'll be a strip of red fabric going along each side as well, probably raw edge, because a lot of the work here is raw edge, and I think that suits it very well. I've also been thinking about what rods to put in it. I'm going to put a rod at each end, and it will roll up from each end towards the middle. And that way all the bulk won't just be on the one rod. I think that will probably look better too, and I can store it in a special box. I might even get one specially made. And that way it can travel if it needs to go to exhibitions and so on. But I'm just loving them. It's so lovely to look at the squares that everyone has done, to use some of the fabrics that have been sent. It's just been wonderful, and I just am so grateful to everyone who participated. There is a link below if you haven't heard of the Red for Courage project. I have still got some squares coming, but it's not actually open to any more squares. But if you really, really want to participate after reading my blog post about it, I definitely won't say no, and they will certainly be included. I'm so excited to share with you my journey of discovery, as I keep calling it, with the jelly plate printing process, or jelly printing. I've been using the earth paints, as I mentioned, and they respond really, really well to this process. And I did a little bit of experimenting with the medium, as I said, but because I will be making tutorials about my process with the earth paints, which I haven't seen anyone else do online anywhere, and which has not been done for the Natural Paints Company either, except for one person who did some with their tube paints. No one has done it with the pigment paints. So I thought that was really interesting and also exciting that I'm possibly the first person to actually do jelly printing with earth paint pigments. Anyway, I needed to organise my prints because once you get in the flow or in the zone, you can't stop because you just want to try out different things. You want to see how colours work. You want to see how different combinations of texturising materials work and so on. And it can very easily get out of control. So I thought, how can I organise my jelly prints? And I came up with this idea. What I've done is I've actually used some recycled cardboard box. I'll show you the back. So that's just from a cardboard box which we got from the supermarket. They flatten them all and they get recycled or get taken away for recycling. And we just ask for them when we need them and they just give them to us. And also we get things in boxes sometimes too that we might have ordered. So I've been cutting them up to fit the sheets. Then I cut a strip here and tie it with some string, and I just use a Japanese stab binding for the process. And that way I can undo the string and I can take these out and then put them back again. And the reason I want to be able to take them out is I want to be able to offer some high-res scans of the best ones of the jelly prints that I've done. So they will be ultimately available on my website for people to download. You can download it to print onto paper, you can download it to print onto cloth, and that way it can be used in your projects, or if you really like it as it is, you can frame it and use it to decorate your home. You can use it for collage, anything. So that's my plan. I tried with my scanner, but my scanner isn't communicating very well with my laptop because my laptop is getting quite old. So I'm looking at investing in a new laptop and also a scanner that will do the high-res images that I want of my jelly prints. So that's in the pipeline, hopefully pretty soon. So I'll just briefly show you some of the prints that I've done. This is the first batch I did after coming home when we tried it out at our Stitching and Beyond group with Sherry. Sherry let us use her jelly plates and her acrylic paints, and I wanted to come home and then experiment with my earth pigments, which, as I said, are in powder form and have to be mixed and prepared, ready to use on the plate. The background I did in one go, using stencils in this case. Then when it was dry, I did them again with some botanicals collected from around my home. And I really feel that this fits in so well with my current practice, where I do eco-printing on fabric and paper using the natural colours that come from the plants themselves. In this way, the natural colours are still from the earth, and I'm using the plants to make a new design with their beautiful shapes. And I have used them for, I think, 3 batches over about 3 days, and they still worked. They were starting to get dry, but they still worked. So this is when they were fresh. This is fishbone fern and lamandra leaves. And the colours I used for the first layer were French turquoise, Venetian red, and yellow ochre. And the variety is amazing. And then when I did the second layer, I used emerald green, and I think that was it. Emerald green, copper mica, emerald green and copper mica. And just again, the different effects I got with just that limited palette of colours and limited materials. I just used my one stencil, several colours combined in different ways, but sticking to the first 3 colours for the first layer and then to 2 colours for the second layer. I also used some tissue paper when I needed to take some paint off and then print it onto my actual backgrounds. And they will become something as well, but I won't be sharing them with you today. I have shared some on Facebook and Instagram, I think. So these are gum leaves. So I picked up some eucalyptus leaves. That's the Lomandra again. And this was the Lomandra seed head. But that didn't print very distinctly. I think it was a bit too thick for me to actually press it down into the paint. Fishbone fern and Lomandra again. And I played with the placement as well. Also, when I'm teaching, I really need to be able to access the work quickly so I can show examples. And this also helps with that. So probably I will include in the tutorial how to do this kind of setup to organise your prints. I'm going to show you the rest of the prints. I won't speak, I'll just show you them and you can just enjoy them. Before I show you today's square for Words 2026, I thought I would show you what I've been working on this morning. I pre-cut a square or pre-tore a square out of some old sheet, I think it is, and then I used my scraps to collage a background. I do this ahead of time. I don't know what the next word will be or the ones following, but having a collage background makes it so that it's not like the problem you have with a blank page in your sketchbook and you look at it and you think, what am I going to do with this? This gives me a head start, and I do this with a lot of my work. It's also a great way to use up scraps, of course. So the next thing I'm going to do is to invisibly base this down, and then I'll put it in my folder ready for whichever square that I might use it for our weekly words that I draw out of my little pot. These are all naturally dyed fabrics except for this strip here. This is left over from my journal cover, which I have shown you before. And the rest are mostly silk. So these 3 pieces are silk. This is linen, I think this is linen, and this is wool. And what I've done is I've pressed it. This is my little pressing mat. It's made of felt. And I've pressed it so that it will all stay flat and stay together. And then I'll pin it, trim the edges, and then invisibly baste it. And then it will be ready for whichever word I decide to use it for. The word for last week was build. And there are a few different ways to look at this, and I decided to look at it in a way that related to my arts practice. When I make my squares or any other stitching that I do, I often build layers. And this is something I'm also doing with the Gelli plate printing process. So I took it as building layers to create something. So let's get it out and have a look. Here we are. I'll just bring you in a bit closer so you can see it. This was also a square that I'd prepared in advance, and it has some collage behind it, which again gave me a head start on the creation of the design. Mostly intuitive, of course. And I had this Gelli print, which I did in our Gelli printing day for our Stitching and Beyond group, Monday last week, which started me on this lovely journey that I'm on. And I decided to use it for my build square. So I built the layers by collaging it first, then adding the Gelli print, then adding a strip that I'd cut off the Gelli print because it was a little bit too long, and 2 circles left over from other projects, which are naturally dyed and printed silk. And I felt that really didn't need any more layers in the cloth. Then the next layer, of course, is stitch, and I've used feather stitch in 2 colours, in green and in a pale aqua. Some back stitch with detached chain, some French knots, which is a white pearl cotton. The blue is stranded cotton. These are pearl cottons. And this lovely orange colour here is also stranded cotton, which I've done in fly stitch, a continuous fly stitch. And these are single fly stitches without any legs on them, so to speak, for to represent birds in the sky. And once again, it's turned out like a landscape. I can't help it. I'm surrounded by beautiful landscape. So that's what seems to emerge in my work. And you'll see that it's happened with the Gelli plate printing as well. We're now going to draw out the word for this week, which is week 21. And I'll just mix them up a bit again with my fingers and then draw one piece out without looking, making sure I've only got one. Turn it over. Oh, this is good. I can think of a few things straight away. So this is gap. Now, a gap can be a geological or topographical term, such as a gap between cliffs, and sometimes they're actually called a gap. There's one that we've driven through in Queensland called Cunningham's Gap, and that has very, very steep mountainous side, so it's an adventure to go over that. Good road though. And so it's often a really stunning, scenic element that you find if you live in a mountainous area or if you visit a mountainous area. Of course, it can be when you lose your first tooth, when you have a gap in your smile. And, you know, it could be a gap in between pieces of fabric that you lay down, could mean all sorts of things. So have fun with this, and don't worry if other people seem to interpret it in a similar way, because I've noticed with the week before last, which was portion, a lot of people did do portions of something like a circle or representing a cake or something like that, but they were all so different. And the one that we featured was of a pizza, and it looked very realistic. So again, don't worry, because even if you have the same approach, you won't have the same techniques, the same fabrics, the same ideas. It will still be unique to you. Now it comes to the exciting moment to choose the winner of the free tutorial. And we've put in all the information we need. And the winner is Denise Smeaton. Congratulations, Denise. I hope you enjoy the tutorial and that it gives you lots and lots of inspiration